What's going on? It's your boy Cass. You know, Mr. 15-year fugitive on the run. So the first three episodes, I gave you my story about how I was living on the run for 15 years. I ended up, traveling across the border. I even lived in Canada while assuming different names. But while I did this, I went to college, I went to school. I'm doing all right for myself now, hiring employees, but it wasn't always like that for me. Obviously, if I was on the run for 15 years and a fugitive. So, what we're going to do today is we're going to break down the story of Anna Sorokin. I believe I said her name right, Anna Sorokin. So, there's a Netflix story on right now. It's actually pretty good. It's called Inventing Anna. You guys should go watch this series. I actually watched it. It's pretty good. The series talks about how this woman named Anna moved from Germany to New York, and when she moved there, she assumed the name of Anna Delphi and became friends with like the New York's richest and pretty much scammed all these people out of money just like with the instant. So if you don't know the story, we're going to take a look at it right now. Now in the series, they really don't talk about how she did some of the things she did. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to break down from my knowledge on how I think she committed these crimes and what she did, okay? Once again, just what I think and maybe what I would have done, all right? You can learn from her and don't learn the bad things, but you can learn some good things from her, all right? So let's take a look at what she's got to offer. Once again, this is Anna Delvey, aka Anna Sorokin.
Prosecutors said that your story was lie after lie after lie. That's what they told the jury.
Of course they would say something like this. That's their job, to accuse me of crimes.
Its a story as fascinating as it was criminal. Anna Delvey, socialite or charlatan, German heiress or a grifting con artist who captured
This girl's also got a big ego, big head.
success until it all came crashing down.
This is a story about a woman who pretended to be someone that she's not.
She was really taking people for an absolute ride. She didn't do an honest day's work in her life in New York. The way she was living, dishing out $100 tips, living out of hotels, she was certainly living.
Now, one thing this girl was doing was she always had a bunch of cash in her pocket, and she would bounce from hotel to hotel to hotel, and she would tip like the people $100 bills. So everybody assumed that she was rich. Now, she told a story that she came from Germany. Her dad was a billionaire, and she has $60 million sitting in a trust fund, and she can't touch it. She's like 26 years old. So that was her con. That was her scam that she was telling people. And of course, she had this accent. People are falling for it, and she's pulling out these $100 bills. People are falling for it.
Like she had that sort of money.
How she supported that, I have no idea.
Now, I'm going to tell you how I think she supported this. So, if you watch the movie, the series on Netflix, it actually shows her opening up bank accounts. And there's also a scene where it shows her cashing checks. Now, she would take her personal check and she would open up a new account, right? Then go open up another account. But she would take the check from her old account, write whatever amount she wanted, and go deposit it in a new account. Now, the new account, they weren't waiting for it to clear. You know how nowadays you put a check in, they wait for it to clear, then you get your money. They weren't doing that. They were actually letting her withdraw money right then and there. And that's how she was maintaining the money that she had in her pocket. Now, this is like 2000, I think 16, 15 or something like that. So it was a little different back then. Banks were letting you get away with this stuff.
After a short lifetime spent indulging in the best money could buy, Delvey, real name Anna Sorokin.
So she, like I said, was able to con these people out of a lot of money. Now, what she was trying to do was, like I said, she said that she, had a trust fund of $60 million and she just couldn't touch it yet. But what she would do was she would make friends with these rich people. She found out where they were hanging around, found out where they would sit at the bars, drink, and go make friends with them. And she, by doing that, got in their circle. And then meet one, and they meet her another one, and the next thing she's knowing all these people. Her plan was she was going to start this foundation, this art foundation, a social club with a building that was on Park Street. This building was like multi-million dollar building. So she needed the money to fund this. So she basically went and made friends with all these multi-millionaires. And then from there, she started trying to get loans from banks because the people she was meeting happened to be big time lawyers or worked with banks that gave you loans. So she would walk into a bank and the bank would say, "Hey Anna, yeah, we know you. Such and such was talking about you yesterday." And, they would try and give her these funds. Now, here's the kicker. She never actually got the multi-million dollar loans. She ended up getting caught before she got the loans. But she was on the verge of getting somewhere between 20 and $25 million for a loan. It was ridiculous what this girl was doing.
There was something about Anna. She knew which people she needed to make feel important. And she also had this sort of aura about her where she's intriguing. And she used that.
Now, Anna wasn't an ugly woman. She was attractive. And not only was she attractive, she was very confident. And she was smart. She was not a dummy. She was smart. She would walk into a place and know what she's talking about. She was a perfect salesperson. So she would sell herself and sell her knowledge. And people just fell for it.
How did you meet Anna Delvey?
I met her out one night in New York. I was out with friends, and she just joined us late.
This girl got
I certainly
scammed out of a lot of money, too.
At the time, Rachel Deloach Williams was a picture editor at Vanity Fair. It's during her time at...
So, this girl they just asked, Rachel was a friend of Anna's. Now, in the beginning, you said that she got found guilty of 8 counts out of 10. One of the counts was Rachel that they didn't find her guilty on. Now, see, Anna left the States and went on a trip to Morocco with Rachel and another person. If you're not familiar with this, Anna wasn't a citizen, obviously. She came from Germany. Now, you have to leave the United States every so often and get your passport reset. That's what they call it, which means you leave, get your passport stamped, meaning you went back to another country, and when you come back to America, you get it stamped again. That's called getting your passport reset, because you can't stay here for a certain amount of days, or you overstay and you get in trouble with immigration. So she took a trip to Morocco. Now, they had the finest places to eat. They went to a hotel. Now, when they get to this hotel, Anna never gave them a card on file. Now, Anna's history, she never gave these hotels cards. She never gave them a card. So they're staying at this hotel. They ask her, "Hey, we need a card on file." Guess what? Anna ain't got a card to give them. So what happens? Rachel gives them not just one American Express card, but 2. One under personal, one under a company name. Rachel ends up leaving early, going back to New York, and when she left back, she found out that her credit cards were charged $64,000.
What were your first impressions?
She was slightly offbeat. She was quirky. Her voice was high-pitched. She had a hard-to-place accent.
They were both young. They were both in their 20s. They both recently moved to New York.
Now, she got found not guilty of that charge because they said Rachel gave her the card. That's why.
And they wanted to be in circles that they didn't really belong to.
I liked her, and so we had a lot of fun together.
Rachel ended up... Don't worry about what happened to Rachel, okay? First of all, American Express took care of Rachel. They paid for everything. Rachel didn't lose her job. Rachel was working for a magazine called Affair or Vanity, whatever the hell it was. They paid her to sell the story. Rachel wrote a book. It became a New York Times bestseller. She also got paid like another 30-something grand for a mini-series that never came out. She got to keep that money in her pocket. So Rachel actually came out very well financially at the end of this. So don't feel bad for Rachel. So like I said, she grew up in Germany. Now her dad or parents were actually born in Russia, and then they moved to Germany when she was small. Her parents were not rich, obviously. It was all just a lie and a scam and, that type of thing. Now, there's one thing they don't talk about this. How did she switch her name from Sorokin, or however you pronounce it, to Delvey? I have 2 theories on what could have happened. They never said when she opened up these bank accounts if she was getting the bank accounts under the name of Delvey or Sorokin. They never said. She could have easily opened up these bank accounts under Sorokin. Just very easily. And, just never told anybody. And then, was cashing these checks and doing these things. And just telling people she was Delvey, right? That would be the easiest way. One thing she could have did was she could have got a fake ID. It's not hard to get. Get a fake ID or whatever from out of country. and go into these banks and open a bank account under Anna Delvey. Those are two things she could have did to get these bank accounts. Now, how she was trying to get the bank loans is a different story. So this woman, when she was getting the loans, they got to verify everything. They have to look at paperwork. They even asked to make sure she had money in a trust. So she was going out making fraudulent paperwork and then coming back and sending it to them. There was even one scene in the show where the guy was like, I have to talk to your attorney in Germany. The attorney from Germany calls him. It's like, this is such and such attorney. There is money in the account. Come to find out, Anna was using an app that is on your cell phone that can change your voice and gave her an accent. To fool the guy. I'm telling you, this girl was really smart. So what got Anna caught, all right, was this. So Anna never had a place to live like by herself. She was staying at hotel to hotel to hotel, but staying at places like, as you see, the W. These high-class 5-star, places, even more stars than that, some of them. And what she would do is she would stay and she would be in there and she would rack up all these bills. She would eat at their restaurant, drink all the drinks, and tell them keep charging it to her room. Well, she would rack up 30 to 40 grand worth of stuff, and then eventually they say, hey, Anna, we need a card on file. We need to run a card because you got all these charges. Well, Anna didn't have a card to give them with $30,000, so then they would kick her out, and she would just bounce to the next hotel. So some of y'all asking, how the hell is she getting these places anyway? Well, some of these hotels, they would not charge your card right away. What they would do is they would just hold your card, or they would copy your card, and they would authorize your card to see if you had enough to pay for that amount. It wasn't hard for her. Let's say, remember I told you about with the checks before? She would take a check from an old bank and go to deposit a new one. That new one gives you a debit card, right? And if you're allowed to withdraw a certain amount of money, which means they're showing you got funds available. Really, you don't, because the check's on the bounce. So most likely what she would do is take that card and go right to the hotel probably that same day, show them that card, and they would run the card, authorize it for that much amount, but not charge it. And then eventually those checks will bounce. So now that card's getting declined. So now they need a card on file because the original card's being declined. That is the logical reason of how I think that she was able to do this. Because most of these hotels will not let you go in there with no type of card whatsoever. Unless, here's another thing. I'm a DJ, right? I travel all over. Some promoters pay for my rooms. I've done this a couple times. I will go to the room where I'm supposed to be staying at. Now, I'm not paying for it. The promoter is. I will go to the room. I will let, the hotel, I will let them know, hey, I'm DJ this, the promotion company or the management company. This is the name the room is under, and I'm the one that's going to be staying in there. I'm not paying for it, but they're going to be calling with their card info. As long as there was a reservation, most of the time they would say, okay, just make sure they call by 6 o'clock or call by 7 o'clock, and they will let me go to the room. Half those people at the front desk would forget, and next you know, a shift change, I'm already in the room. After she went to hotel, right? Hotel to hotel. Now they're starting to press charges on her because they're realizing what she's doing. They're realizing that she's a scam. They're realizing all this. Those banks she was trying to get those loans for are realizing the same thing. Everybody's talking about her. So what does she do? She leaves, books, goes to California, checks herself into rehab. The reason why she checked herself into rehab is because rehab places have to do with HIPAA compliance. You know, HIPAA, they're not allowed to talk about you or your medical condition or say where you're at, things like that. So she checked herself into rehab because she knew she was safe in rehab. A lot of people do this. A lot of criminals will go commit a criminal activity and then go check into a rehab, or they would check themselves into a mental institution because they know these places, they're kind of in a safe haven. So her friend Rachel set her up. Her friend Rachel actually told her, hey, I'm in California. We should go out to lunch. I'm going to pull up front and meet you. What's your address? Rachel gave her the address. Anna gave Rachel the address. Rachel called her back and said, hey, I'm out front. Come step outside. Once Rachel stepped outside the rehab place, boom, arrested. But pretty much that is the story of Anna. Anna Sorokin, Anna aka Delvey. Now this girl was smart. She was smart by going and surrounding herself with rich people, elite people, top of the line people. I tell this all the time. You are who you hang around with. If you're around a bunch of crackheads, you're going to smoke crack one day. I'm just sorry, I just hate to tell you this, but that's what's going to happen. But if you're around a bunch of millionaires and people with goals and billionaires and owning things, you're going to want to set goals and own things for yourself because you're going to want to do the same things they do. Think about this. If your friends can only afford Wendy's on Saturday, what's going to happen? You guys are going to Wendy's. But if your friends are going to Charlie's Steakhouse and Burns and stuff where it's $100 steak you got to keep up with them, right? You got to have that money to go with them. So in other words, you're going to have to do the same things or something similar to keep up with them. And I'm pretty sure a lot of it's not going to be illegal activity because most likely they're not doing it. So you're going to try and find a way. So she was smart by doing that. Dumb, though, was her ego. As you saw, the ego got her in trouble. I'm going to react to some other videos when it comes to people being fugitives and doing some illegal, either dumb or just straight out stupid stuff. I also got some interviews coming up. So if you guys got some questions, comment below for the algorithm so I can get my story out there. I'm also looking for a filmmaker who can help me film my documentary. And I'm also looking for a bunch of people. Look. Help me out and I got you, all right? Comment, like the video, subscribe. Once again, it's your boy Kaz, a.k.a. Mr. Pate, the one who's been on the run for 15 years, but not no more. I'll talk to you later. Peace.